Welcome, everybody. My name is Mina Jane, and I am the director of the Ashland Public Library in Massachusetts. And I'm super excited to be here with my partner in crime, Sam Riley, the sustainability coordinator of Ashland, as well as these wonderful farmers from local farms who came here to chat with us about their farms and what they do and their challenges and why we should be buying locally. Before I get to them, I just want to say thanks to the Friends of the Ashland Public Library for supporting all of our programs. We could not do this stuff without them. And to all of our farmers and Sam for letting us share this program with other libraries because a lot of libraries signed up because we're all in the same boat and we all want to learn. So thank you all for that. I just wanted to chat for a second about the format of tonight's presentation. All of our farmers are going to present for about 15 minutes and then we're going to have a Q&A. The chat will be off during their talk. You can still chat with me or the farmers, but it won't go out to everybody. And then I'll turn it back on when we're in the Q&A and you can chat with each other. We'll be crowd sharing your resources, your local resources, and I will put all of that in a recap email to everybody so you won't miss a thing. You don't have to take notes, just pay attention. So, like I said, we're talking about farms. I'm going to be off screen for a lot of this part, but I'm going to hand it over to Sam Riley, who's going to introduce our very first farmer.
Hello, everyone. My name, as Mina said, is Sam Riley. I'm the sustainability coordinator from Ashland, Mass. Just quickly, I think Mina and I, maybe 2, 3 months ago, were talking about wanting at-home like milk delivery and the benefits of truly getting produce and fresh meat and fresh eggs and everything from local farms instead of maybe going to the grocery store. I know that there are tons of sustainability benefits for it as well that I'm sure that these farmers will get into. And if not, we can get into a little bit in the Q&A. But I want to first start by introducing our first farm, which is the Medway Community Farm. The Medway Community Farm hosts CSAs for residents in addition to having their own farm stand. In addition, they have a variety of meat options for purchase, which is a lot better, I think, sustainably than looking at these giant commercial farms. This is a huge carbon footprint. And when looking at their website, I myself was very intrigued by their work share for a CSA. So I'd love to, if you talk about that. If not, I might have a Q&A for you at the end. But I will let you go ahead, Todd.
Thanks, everyone. So as we talked a little earlier before everyone got on, you're in a room with a bunch of farmers that get to learn how to play with technology and how we're working this here. So just bear with us. And of course, I get to be the first one. So my name's Todd Sandstrom. I'm the farm manager for Medway Community Farm. I am entering my fourth season with the farm now. And I'm really excited about this upcoming year. I've learned a lot about the farm. I've learned a lot about the community. And I'm really excited to be here tonight. So a little history on Medway Community Farm. It was agricultural land in the town of Medway. And in 2009, there was a really big push to purchase the land from the landowner and to preserve it. And so the farm was really developed for open space, educational purposes, and food access. As of today, we oversee 18 acres of total land, and that's both conservation land, trails, woodlands, and about 50% of that, a little under, is what we have in actual tillage land. So our main existence for the farm is really focused on three components. It's the open space side, as I mentioned, and it's making sure that people have a place to come walk and enjoy the property. But it's also education. The farm does a lot of work with the Medway Public Schools. We're now adventuring into other schools, and it's really to teach people what it takes to grow something. What is it really inspiring people to understand the food system, as the environment, and all the different components to it. And the other part is the food access for us. Food access is a really strong point, especially personally for me, and the work that I've done prior to being at Medway. The goal of the farm is to make sure that everyone has access to healthy, nutritional food. And it could be everything from, a senior to a child. We do a lot of work in different ways through multiple different people and organizations in the town of Medway and the surrounding towns. So some challenges I think that all of us will agree on tonight in community farming and in farming in general. There's a really steep curve on labor shortages, especially in the last several years. Farming is not something that is it's easy. It takes a lot, and we keep on coming back year after year to do it. It has a really high burnout rate. It takes a lot of financial sustainability in how you do things. And it's everything from I'm choosing to really focus on, purchasing a cooler or purchasing a piece of equipment. And then the ongoing thing that we always are struggling with is that educational component, teaching people about seasonality, understanding that no, I don't grow pineapples or bananas, even though it's available in the box stores. And it's really kind of coaching people through also on how to use food. We've really gotten to a point where it's understanding how to use food, and fresh food is something that is a component that we have to teach people again and really make people understand, hey, this isn't canned, this isn't frozen, this is how you use it. These are different options. And it really becomes, it's an enjoyable thing, but it's also, it's a challenge because we assume people know things that sometimes they don't. So some benefits of local farming. So when we talk about benefits, the number one thing really is we're dealing with product that is typically harvested 24 to 36 hours before it hits the retailer. And that retailer could be a CSA, it could be donation, it could be, right into our farm stand or to a farmer's market. That other part is really understanding how it empowers the strength within the local economy. Our staff live in town. Some of them live just outside of town. We're regionally located. And so our money, when, we get our paychecks, we're going to the local coffee shop, we're getting gas in town, we're using the mechanic in town to do repairs on our equipment. So that's reinvesting really into our communities, and which is something that, really kind of starts to close that gap on the economic part of it, that your money really does stay local when you're working with a local farmer. And community connection. There's a lot to be said about know your farmer, know your food. I strongly believe in that. Throughout the season, we have staff that work in our field, that work in our farm stand, and they have the ability to come in and talk about, the products that we grow and how we do things. I think one of the great things I enjoy is I'll go somewhere and someone will be like, "Hey, it's Farmer Todd," and that's powerful. It's having that connection with the end user, the consumer, that really makes a really big impact. And I think the other part is the environmental stewardship part. Every farmer in the Northeast that I've met, that I work with, we are really conscious of what we spend, how we spend it. And we have a lot of conversations with people at farmers markets that were like, "Oh, well, what do you do about, antibiotics? What do you do about this and that?" And a lot of these things happen on large scale agriculture. Most of our farmers, they don't have the funds to continue to put into certain things. So what they're looking at is really investing in local small steps, soil development. How do we package things? Are we using a sustainable product to package? That type of stuff, as we work toward a sustainable, farm operation. So one of the big questions that came up as we were leading into this is how did we get away from local farms? This is a conversation that I actually really enjoy to get into. So our food system started to industrialize in the 1940s. And it was just after we were getting out of the war, and there was a food issue with people getting food. And so the goal was really to make sure people had food. So how do we do that? And it was really about industrializing agriculture, making it as effective as we can. The best place to do that was rural America. And so we started to build really big farms and really focus on, monoculture and that type of stuff, and producing fast, quick turnaround stuff. So when people ask me, well, is our food system broken? Nope. The food system that we developed back in the 40s did exactly what it was supposed to do. We made it so that it could feed people. We made it industrialized so it could produce quickly. And at the same time, we lowered cost of labor because we industrialized it, and we moved to more of a corporate style agriculture, which gets into the whole, it's cheaper, right? It's cheaper to do things in a big scale operation, and we really saw that start to cycle faster the 70s through the 90s with development of different technologies, different farming operations. And then we got into the 2000s to today, where we're really looking at, a lot of crops that are GMOs that produce really good crops for really low input, and different components to that GMO model, right? But then we step back and we look at, what are the effects of that? So 70% of our food system, though, is still produced by small farmers like the ones that are here tonight. And we're not looking at the Northeast really as industrial farms, and yet those industrial farms are really producing most of the food that gets exported out of our country. And when we look at, the 4 leading companies for seed production, in the whole entire seed market, it's 60% of the seeds come from those 4 companies. It's really crazy to think about. And then the downfall in the amount of farmers over the last several decades, and just in the last 10 years, especially in Massachusetts, through the last probably 5 years, I think I can put names on 12 farmers in Massachusetts that are no longer here. I think industrial farming has a place, absolutely, but I think it's really hard to weigh out the parts of the value versus the input. When you look at technology in agriculture, it's really expensive, and those investors want to get that money back on that investment. So some misconceptions in farming. I looked up real quick for Massachusetts back in 2020. There was 136 community farms. This is basically based off of like nonprofits. They're urban farms. They're nonprofits like we are, that are trying to do mission-based work. Additionally to that, there was 220 farms doing some type of CSA model. So CSA is a community share. It's you're investing in the farm to get produce later on in the season. Typical conversations we have with people, it's more expensive. But if you look at what all 3 of us produce on our properties, you're getting a higher nutritional value. You're getting a product that is local, who grew it. And that product is comparable to what you're gonna spend at a Whole Foods or a reputable place that's really giving you a high quality product. The other one I hear a lot about is that small farms can't produce enough to feed the people. Well, we know for a fact that that's not true, because our government actually made a whole entire push and gave out plans for farms to be developed at home. And it was the whole entire movement during the war. In Massachusetts, we're really fortunate to have an amazing Department of Agriculture and some amazing people here in the state that do some great work. We have a higher volume of urban farms, so small scale, under 2 acres, that are producing really great products. Worcester, Boston, Taunton, New Bedford, that are really doing great work. We have our urban farm population in Massachusetts is actually being looked at by many, many other states because we're really doing a great job here. And the other part is farming just in the Northeast isn't real because we're not central, the grain belt area. I have had the privilege of traveling throughout the Northeast, and I have met some of the best producers of everything from proteins, land-based seafood, and some amazing farmers from the Crown of Maine to Martha's Vineyard in Nantucket that are just really hitting it home. We are living in an area of the country that has the most diverse agricultural operations, I think, in a large portion of our country. And I think it's something to be proud of. And I'm really proud to be part of it. So what keeps us going? It's the stories. We do a lot of corporate volunteerism and individual volunteerism, and it's that one-on-one connection that we get with people. We learn who they are, what they do, what they like, what they don't like, and those stories of our consumers that come in and just share with us. They may have been the first time they ate Malabar spinach, and what they did with it, what they thought of it. Some like it, some don't. And I think for me, it's the smiles, the look of a kid's face when they pull something out of the ground in our kid programs. It's great, and at the end of the day, it's a thank you. We work in a really hard industry, and I think that a smile and a thank you for any farmer in our district. I don't think a lot of people really understand what power that has to keep us going. It really does. So call to action, how can you guys help all the farms? So everything that we do today impacts someone's tomorrow, from food to education. Every community farm isn't just a farm, it's a community farm. Without our community, we can't do the work that we do. It really is that simple. And for us, we're on leased land from the town and some private land. And it's not an easy thing for us to always, pivot and change on short notice. And yet, at the end of the day, our job is to produce really good quality stuff to go into the farm stand, to go into our CSAs, our farmers markets. Our educational program is in Medway in multiple towns. And I think it's really important that we continue to educate all the kids of all ages, even adults. And for us as a nonprofit working farm, our events are number one way for people to also help support us. We have a great ceiling sale coming up Mother's Day weekend. Our next thing is our golf tournament. And the farm accepts SNAP HIP EBT. We do low income CSA shares. And we also do donations. We're really proud of our food access work. We have programs, we have care cards that we issue to police, fire, and other people. If they know someone in need, especially in season, we're here to help. And I think that's really kind of one of the key things for us, is for people to remember that you don't have to be a member of the farm. You don't have to really key in on what we do day to day. If there's somebody in Medway or surrounding town that's in need, we're here to help. So there's our website and two really good pictures of our farm. The middle one actually was just taken a couple of weeks ago. We just started finally tilling and moving soil. We just planted onions last week. So we're pretty excited about the season ahead and everything else. I will turn it over to you now.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. That was amazing and great to know all this work's happening so close. All right, we'll move on to Tangerine Farm. So Tangerine Farm is based in Millis, Massachusetts. It's home to 65 acres of organically grown produce. They also have a CSA for the majority of the year, and then on site, they host a farm stand, ice cream stand, and a restaurant, which menu I was peeking at, so I can't wait for that to open. So I will pass it over to Linda with Tangerine Farm.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I am going to jump in and try to, let's see. Okay, I think we're sharing. Um, so just kind of picking up a little bit of what Sam said there. First and foremost, I do want to mention we do grow about 95% of our crops organically. However, we are not certified organic. And thus, since it is a federally licensed term, we are not actually able to say that we are an organic farm. Um, for us, my husband and I have both worked on different organic farms before that are certified, and we came to Tangerini's farm about 11 years ago, but they were not certified at the time, and they were growing the same way that we are now. But for us, it's really resonated in the being able to communicate with our customers as to our growing practices, how we grow, why we choose to grow the way we do. And I'll touch on that a little bit as we go throughout the next few minutes here too. But we've decided, at least for now, not to actually go through the process of getting physically licensed for an organic certification. So I just want to point that out real quick. But anyway, my name is Linda, and my husband Steve and I own Tangerini Spring Street Farm. We have been the owners for the last 6 years, and we've been here for 11 years, 5 years prior working with the previous owners. We are a family of four, and this has really just been a really great experience for us to become the stewards of this land that we now care for. So my first slide being Toto, I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore, is really just because this was definitely not something that when my husband or I were, 15, 16, 17, 18, we were like, oh my gosh, we're going to own a farm one day. So I've got a picture of myself and my twin brother here, and then of Steve as well. We both went very different routes. Our families were both like, wait, what are you doing with your lives? And I have a bachelor's degree in psychology and a culinary degree. Steve started farming when he was 14 and totally fell in love with it, but his family was like, no, you're going to college, you need a college education. And so he has a bachelor's degree from Franklin Pierce in criminal justice. But after college, he was like, no, this is where I belong. I need to be part of the agricultural community. So here we are, and it's really taken a lot of, I know we've both actually completely changed our parents' minds on this. My parents definitely, I went a culinary route, and they were like, nope, it's not what you want. And I was like, well, we'll see. So that really brought the two of us together. I worked for the Red Sox and got produce from Wardsbury Farm in Sharon, Mass. And Steve was the farm manager at the time. So we just completely joined minds in growing local, eating local, creating local product, and that's led us to where we are today. So where we are today is Tangerini Spring Street Farm. I started the restaurant here 11 years ago, and it's really blossomed in the last 5-6 years now. And then my husband has completely taken over the field side of things over the last 11 years. For us, it's so important of the whole process, regenerative agriculture. And I know that term, I feel like, gets thrown around a little bit more these days. And for us, what that really means is knowing your land and making sure that you're taking care of not just growing a product and creating turn in that field every single time, but actually making sure that you're taking care of your microbes and your soil and all of that down to the depths. So we're trying to make sure that although we might not be using the most cutting edge technology available on the market, that we're running soil tests and we're doing everything we can to make sure that we're using the earth now, but also creating a sustainable, future for the longevity of this farm and whatnot. So we're definitely following different practices, and we're constantly educating ourselves and learning from the community, which is in New England such an awesome community to be a part of as well. Um, Taking that from the agricultural community and turning it into Millis and the surrounding towns is also a really huge thing for us. We want to make sure that we're reaching people on a food access level. We're also, where Todd spoke about labor, that's a huge thing for us. I know with Medway Community Farm and Native Community Farm, where none of us are using programs that are bringing in labor from other countries or different work programs. So we're all using local staff, and that can be extremely challenging. We're not really in an area where people are like, yeah, I want to work 12 hours a day in the sun, and if it rains, it's fine, I'll get wet. That's definitely not a norm for most people that are going out to apply for a job. So we really, it takes us a long time to fill some of our positions, and labor turnover is absolutely a thing. We're constantly training and retraining. It's a seasonal job, so it's hard to hang on to those individuals, and that's definitely a struggle of ours for sure. We've been fortunate enough to be able to hold on to some of our key staff and some of our seasonal employees. We like to think that we have a really great community here and at the farm. So it's been, we've been in a good spot and fortunate to be able to build those lasting connections. We do work with other food banks, as well as the Worcester and the Boston Food Bank, to help with food access as well. We also do, like Todd mentioned, we work with HIP, EBT, and SNAP programs, as well as WIC and senior coupons too. So we do have a CSA. We have 4 different CSA models that we use. We have a summer CSA, which is our main CSA. This one runs from June to the end of October. And then we have a winter CSA, which is actually kind of more like a fall CSA, really. It runs November, December, and into the beginning of January. And then we have a deep winter CSA that runs from January into March. And to round out the whole year, we have a spring CSA that's mostly greens that runs from April to June. So that kind of ties into our 4-season farming. We do have 65 acres here that we're growing on, like Sam said, and we have a substantial amount of storage crops. So what that means for us is that we're growing a lot of produce in the late summer into the fall that we're going to actually hold on to and store for the winter. It means that we're able, in the winter months when our farm stand isn't necessarily open, we're able to wholesale a lot of that product and get it to different food banks, as well as restaurants, grocers, and all of that, so that we can supply our local community with product that's holding nutritional value really well in our temperature and humidity controlled storage facilities. And it's still a local and sustainably grown product too. We grow carrots for that. We do a lot of the things that you see on in this picture collage on the screen here: sweet potatoes, cabbage, butternut squash. We grow 3 different greenhouses with winter spinach, potatoes, onions, rutabaga, carrots. The list goes on. And a couple other things that are really important to myself and my husband are education through agriculture. We're partnered with a a school that uses part of our field and has a yurt on the property. They do preschool and kindergarten here. And then we also partner with a lot of other schools for tours and school groups that really teaching that next generation is really important. Speaking of the next generation, just a couple pictures here of a few little things that we do. This is a shot of our 3-year-old who is most frequently found dirty and barefoot, and oftentimes harvesting vegetables too, just because he wants a snack. In the top corner, we have some of our food that we have at our restaurant here, and then the bottom is a picture of one of our farm to table dinners that we did in the fall here. This is a slightly older picture, but our 10-year-old son, who at that point I think was probably 6 or 7 maybe, was harvesting potatoes with us. This was like an after school in September kind of time frame where he would just love coming home from school and then let's head out and pick some potatoes. We participate in a lot of different farmers markets. So we're trying to figure out ways to reach different communities and broader access for our product, as well as being able to reach different communities that have HIP, EBT, and SNAP needs too. One of the ways that I've been trying to reach a different community and different outreach is through some of our Farm Tour Fridays. I have a series that I do on Instagram and Facebook that I started, I want to say a year and a half ago or so, maybe almost 2 years ago now. Every Friday, or in the wintertime, it's not quite every Friday, but I do a short reel about what's going on at the farm, how our growing practices are in a certain crop, what we're harvesting right now, and just sharing with the community a few things about what's really important to us at this moment and how we're growing that, what's going on. And it's been a really cool way to connect with people. It's helped really share and continue that education through agriculture in a very, very different way. And I've had a lot of fun with it. I love talking to people who come to the farm and are like, oh my gosh, I watch your reels. And I've had little kids come up to me and be like, every week I see what you're doing. And it's really cool that people are getting engaged in it and entertained by it too. So what's next for us? I put this slide on. We're not in a long winter's nap anymore, but in the winter, this is what we do. This is a picture of our now 3-year-old, and we in the winter, everyone's always like, "What are you doing?" And we kind of reset. But there's still so much that has to be done, especially since this is the time where we're planning now. At this point in April, we are planting things, we're growing, we're getting the gears turning for 2025. I'm also working on different ways to tie in different possible outlets for retreats, for like a field and fork retreat, tying in sustainability and agriculture and seasonal eating. I pre-kids used to teach a lot of culinary classes. So one of the things I want to bring back a little bit to help get into the community some more and into really teaching people is some culinary classes that actually really go around seasonal eating and whatnot. We're also looking on expanding our pick your own opportunities and some future building projects. Like I said, I mean, we've been here ourselves, my husband and I, for 6 years, and we've been super fortunate to be able to be where we are. But there's, some of our barns are in need of help and building structures and whatnot. So we're working on grants every year to try and figure out new ways to bring different projects to fruition and purchasing different infrastructure and equipment as well. So that's just one way we're trying to keep up with the race. So just a couple pictures of us around the farm, and then here is my information, our farm's information, our website, etc. mentioned a couple of different things, but we do have the CSA, we have our farm stand, restaurant. That stuff's all open May 1st through Thanksgiving. And thank you guys for all tuning in and giving me and everybody here a chance to share a little bit about what we do. Thanks.
Thank you. That was wonderful. All right, last but not least, we will go to Natick for Natick Community Farm. This community organic farm hosts not just CSAs, but also meat and has everything from maple trees to goats to various educational programs year-round for all ages. Erin, I will let you talk about your community farm.
Great, thank you so much. Before I start this presentation, I do also want to say Todd and Linda stole everything I was going to say. So thanks guys for that. There's so much that we all have in common. So I feel like this might get a little repetitive, but bear with me. So my name's Erin O'Brien. I work at the Natick Community Organic Farm. Let me pull up my notes here. Hang on one second. Here we go. We are a certified organic, hands-on farm. We're located on 27 acres of conservation land in South Natick, Massachusetts. I'll go into more history in a moment, but I wanted to give a little background on myself as well. I am the communications and outreach coordinator for the farm. I've been here since January 2022, although I did grow up in Natick and have really great memories of visiting the farm as a kid. I came from another part of the nonprofit sector, and so when I was looking for this job, I was really focused on finding a place that was mission-driven, that was environmentally conscious, and that had a really strong sense of community. And I did manage to find all of that with the Natick Farm. I'm probably among our #1 fans, so I will also be extremely enthusiastic through this presentation. So great, good for you, lucky for you guys. The land that we're on currently in South Natick actually had been farmed for probably centuries before we got there. We are blessedly almost rock-free. Our soil is not very rocky at all, and anyone who has dug dirt in any amount in New England has probably noticed that there's a ton of rocks in our soil. And so that's our biggest indicator that the land we're on has been used as a farm for a very, very long time. We are, and from colonization, we can track ownership of the land, but before that, we're on Nipmuc land. You know, we try to honor the fact that we are the current stewards of this land, and to try to treat it as respectfully as we can to ensure that it remains productive for generations to come. In 1974, the federal government freed up some money with the town of Natick to create a jobs program for teenagers. At that point, the sort of younger end of the baby boomers were coming of age and looking for jobs. And so we were formed in partnership with the town and some federal grant money in order to provide those jobs to teens. There was also a garage that started and a third business. I've never been able to figure out what that business was. We're the only one that's still around. At the time, we were called Red Wing Farm, and we were actually across the street from our current location in what's now known as the Broadmoor Wildlife Sanctuary in Natick. And then by the next summer in 1975, we were moved to a plot of land next to the Memorial Elementary School that was owned by the town and is still owned by the town today. We've been there for 50 years now. By 1980, the federal funding was gone, but the town decided to continue the program. And so a nonprofit was formed. We became the Natick Community Farm. This worked in partnership of the town. We were continuing to hire on local teenagers. I believe from the 70s and early 80s, they were getting paid like $1 an hour. They also hired a director, Linda Simpkins. Anyone who has been anywhere near Natick Farm in the last 50 years has probably met Linda. She retired in 2018. She's still around the farm. We see her. She's really enjoying retirement. And she is part of the reason that we're still around. And sometime in the late 1980s, early 1990s, we picked up an organic certification. So we are certified organic for our vegetables and our flowers. Our meat program, our livestock program is not certified organic, although we do feed non-GMO food, and we follow most of the certification requirements. We just haven't paid to become certified. Because we were started by the town of Natick using federal funding, then we were transferred to being a town department, and then we were formed into a nonprofit. We're sort of structured a little differently than most farms in the area, maybe most farms in the country. We operate on a long-term lease with the town of Natick. Our executive director and assistant directors are town employees, and the rest of the staff, myself included, are employees of the nonprofit. We have a board of directors, but as a community farm, we are obligated also to serve the needs of the greater community. We also ensure that we farm regeneratively and sustainably to help keep the land productive for future generations. We're open for free to the public every day of the year during daylight hours. We farm in the public eye, and we have an extremely robust educational program, ranging from drop-in programs with caregivers and kids as young as 18 months, through our forest preschool, our homeschool programs, our after-school, summer camps, vacation camps, lots of teen programs, and then we do some adult workshops as well. So we're pretty much educating everyone from 18 months all the way up through adulthood. We're not only a productive farm in that we are, producing flowers, vegetables, and meats and eggs and maple syrup out on the farm stand now, but we're also a resource to the community when they need some open green space to visit for free, when they need fresh seasonal vegetables, or they just want to feel a stronger connection to the land they live on and the food that they eat. Small farms, as we've seen earlier today, with our previous presenters, and you probably can figure out, we're not known for being highly profitable. While we're able to use the profits from our educational programs to help defray the cost of the agriculture wing, we also do find ourselves having to fundraise and seek out grants to help us with some of our more essential programs. So what is a community farm? We've covered a lot of it. I found a good definition from the Utah Conservation Corps that says community agriculture initiatives are often run by organizations who rely on volunteer structure, grow produce sustainably, and aim to improve health and food access in their communities. I would also add, at least in our case and in the cases of our fellow presenters tonight, we are also an educational resource. Not only will we help folks connect more with their food and their land, but we try to foster connection. And we try to build up their ability and knowledge to be able to grow some of their own food. Think, the victory gardens of the World War II era. A lot of the benefits we provide to the community, Todd and Linda have covered a lot of them. We take care of the land, that we remain productive year over year. And we like to say that we feed the soil, not the plants. So we really do take very good care of our soil and our land. We also trial and grow crops that do well in our current climate. As things change, it is really important to know what grows here well and what doesn't anymore, so that folks who might want to grow things at home will know what will work here. Consumers get access to healthy, fresh, and seasonal crops. Not only is that great for the food they're eating right then, but it does help sort of train folks to understand what is seasonal, what is happening at certain parts of the year. We provide community to our volunteers, our program kids, and our customers through our events that we hold. We also have a seedling sale happening on Mother's Day weekend, so you can swing by Medway and then come on up to us in Natick and see what we got. We have our Farm Fest happening that same day. We do the Harvest Dinner. We have a Maple Magic pancake breakfast. These are all opportunities for the community to get together in person and connect over food, which is really all that humanity is about. The picture in this slide is actually from a farm lunch, a community lunch that we do weekly. This one's from a couple years ago. I believe we had a board member who was retiring, and we were also saying goodbye to all of our summer educators that day. But this is the way it is. Every Thursday afternoon, you can stop by the farm, and it's a big potluck lunch. There's other farmers there. There's our educators. There's our staff. There's some of our program kids. I bring my 1-year-old. Someone always brings a dog. It's a really great chance to, again, just get together and be together as a community, which is something that is so, so important to this entire operation. And I think Todd and Linda both actually covered this a little bit, but we're a small business, and so we get to know our customers really well. I'll say, like, our livestock manager, Haley, she knows all of her regular customers. And so when she has a particular variety of meat or a certain cut of meat, she knows exactly who to email to say, hey, we're going to have, rabbit for sale, and I think you're going to want some. And it's just a really nice feeling to know that we know these people on a personal level like that. And of course, this is something that most small customer-focused businesses have in common. And I mentioned before, but we're a free open space to visit without the pressure to actually purchase anything. This is a rare occurrence, particularly in the town of Natick. I can't necessarily speak to Millis or Medway, but there are few and far between green open spaces that you can just visit to watch some farm animals hang out and just be outdoors. And there's no expectation to buy anything or do anything. You can just come and walk around and take a look at stuff and sit at our picnic table and enjoy the outdoor weather. And then last but not least, we do provide meaningful work for our volunteers, our program kids, our team workers. It is invaluable to get your hands dirty and do something that you feel really produces something. Let's see. Okay, challenges facing the farm today. There are reasons why most of the food you find in grocery stores is grown in large-scale farms. Todd covered a lot of this. Profit is a matter of scaling in a lot of cases. And basically, we're not going to get any bigger. We are on the land that we are on. Getting more land is very unlikely to happen. We are in a residential community. So instead, we have to focus on increasing the quality of what we do grow, and helping, again, support the agriculture that we have with our educational offerings. We are a nonprofit, and as you can imagine, in times of financial stress, a lot of families have to make some hard decisions, and that does include cutting back on charitable giving. That is also, grants are also affected by that, as well as like corporate giving. So these things are all definitely a huge challenge that we're facing. This is sort of best exemplified in our teen work crew program and apprenticeship program. Since the inception of the farm, we have really focused on hiring teens and giving them good, meaningful work to do. Our teen work crew is a summer program. Teens 15 to 18-year-olds are paid to work through the summer on projects at the farm that the farmers decide. But it's a program that's run by teenagers. They learn a ton of construction skills and teamwork skills. And in fact, if you walk into the farm pretty much every building you see, with the exception of our new barn, has been built or at least contributed to the building by teenagers here. There are teens who can come here who are, older than that now, but they can point at almost every building here and say, oh, I helped build that and that and that. The teens who we connect with a little bit more will be asked by our executive director to stay on as apprentices, and then they work through the school year 5 hours a week as well. This program altogether cost over $50,000 a year to run, most of which we raise at our harvest dinner, like our annual online auction. We do get some money through grant programs, but it is one of those programs that we have to fundraise for. It doesn't just pay for itself. And in closing, there are action items that I can bring up. Some of them, again, Todd has gone through. Farmers markets are a great spot to meet local farmers. You can meet them face to face, you can get to know them, and you can cut out the middleman at the grocery store. It takes a lot of work for farmers to get to a farmer's market every week. We usually have to pay to be there. And the profits can be fairly slim. So making sure just being there and supporting the farms that you know and getting to know your farmers is so important. It feels like I'm giving away business when I say this, but I do highly encourage everyone to grow some of your own food. You can grow, herbs on a windowsill, or a tomato plant on a balcony, or a raised bed in your backyard. If everyone on this call, all 141 of you, spent a little more time getting your hands into the soil, your yard, your porch, wherever, there are proven health benefits to that, and you're reducing the distance that food has to get to your belly. Learning, which you're doing now, learning what's in season, what grows well in New England. If you're ready for it, learn about where your meat comes from. I recommend it. It isn't always an easy conversation to have with yourself or anyone, but it is important to know how meat gets to your table if you eat meat. Continue to eat local, support small businesses however you can. Come visit the farm, any of these farms, any community farm that's open to the public. Please come see us, talk to us. My farmers love talking to folks about the work they're doing and just connecting on that personal level. And for those of you who are parents, consider get your kids involved in farm programs wherever you are. This is, classes, volunteering, whatever it is, jobs as they get older. I can promise the skills that one learns on a farm extend beyond agriculture. The lessons they learn will be useful in any walk of life that they have. And if they turn out to want to be a farmer, even better, because we need more. Excuse me. And with that wraps up my part of the presentation. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Erin and Linda and Todd. Why don't you all come back, Sam as well. I've opened up the chat, so feel free to send messages to everybody. What I want to do in the chat is actually crowdsource local farms near you that you would recommend, and then I'll put that list together and send it out to everybody. Put the name of the farm and where it's located if it's not obvious in the thing, and what you get from there. So we do have some questions. I'm going to start with this one. Do you have any advice for getting involved in community gardens? So I'm going to ask each of you to tell me one thing that would help somebody get involved with their community garden. Todd.
Oh, pick up the phone or stop in.
Mm-hmm. Linda?
So I would definitely agree with Todd. I mean, just stop in, talk with your local farm. I think that's just the best way to get to know people, or go to a farmer's market. I think you can definitely find out a whole bunch of information there.
Mm-hmm. And Erin?
I can say the town of Natick, our community gardens are actually run through the town itself. And so you might have to get a little creative on finding where community gardens exist in your community. But generally your town hall or city hall would at the very least be able to help guide you where to look.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Sam, do you have any ideas on this too?
I would echo definitely go to the farm, but also I know like in Ashland, our community farm is run by a resident group. So find out who that group is and just send an email. That might be a little easier.
Okay. Okay. I'm seeing lots of recommendations in the chat, but make sure you click on everyone so everyone can see your answers unless you want to stay anonymous, in which case I'll still put out the information to everybody. Our farmers have offered to stay for an extra few minutes, so we're going to try to get to as many questions as possible, and I'm seeing wonderful recommendations in the chat. I'm very excited. I got a question here. I'm interested in local products for my baking, especially dairy. Is it noticeable if you use local products for that? And I'm actually really curious if any of your farms sell dairy or if you know of any farms that sell dairy locally. I'm going to start with Linda on this.
So we sell dairy, but we don't have dairy ourselves. We work with Maple Valley Creamery and Maple Line Dairy as well. And I would say, I mean, just again, so much of what we've been saying and some of the questions that Todd and Aaron and I have been answering in the webinar chat too, um, just knowing your farmer and I think really has like a lot behind it and in terms of understanding their practices. And as far as dairy goes, I mean, you'll notice differences if you really get down to like where the cows are they closer to the sea, are they closer inland, you know, all of that kind of stuff will definitely vary your the taste and whatnot, that you'll find the little notes in the milk. But I think really if you want to get down to buying local and just paying attention to asking those types of questions, taking a few moments to find that person that you can talk to, so that your dollar is going to the right person that you want it to go to.
I'm going to say the best ice cream I've ever had has been at a local farm, because with the dairy, oh, don't get me started. Aaron, do you have any thoughts on dairy for where people can get dairy or if it makes a difference to their baking?
Yeah, we do not sell dairy. We don't have cows at Natick Farm. We have goats, but we don't have dairy goats either. I will say, related to dairy, farm fresh eggs, there is nothing like a fresh egg. It is much different than what you get in the grocery store. It's pretty noticeable right away. And you know, I can say at least at our farm, eggs have been in very high demand the last several months. And so it might take a little while to find the fresh eggs near you, and it's probably a good idea to find a couple places that have whatever you're looking for so that you're not relying on just one spot. But yeah, it looks like we're getting a great network of farms kind of up in the comments here. And so I'd say, like, you know, have a list of what's closest to you and try to have a couple places in mind.
Excellent. And Todd, any last thoughts?
So I think that we have some great resources, both through the Department of Agriculture. Massachusetts also has a great network of buy local organizations. So for us, we would have Central Mass Grown, the Boston district has one, Western Mass has CISA, Southeastern Mass has CMAP. They all have really good resources because a lot of people are asking, like, I want a farmer's market, I want this, and looking for that information. That's definitely, it's there. The Massachusetts Department of Agriculture has a full roster of every farmer's market in the Commonwealth.
Interesting. I did not know that.
And you can filter it too. You can filter it by what you're looking for. We don't have a huge amount of dairy anymore in Massachusetts, but yeah, you can filter through that list.
Can you put a link in the chat for that?
Oh, you got to ask me to do that now?
Challenge. Sam, did we ever find a dairy market or a dairy farm?
I did, and now I believe it was Crescent Ridge.
Yes. Yeah.
They will do delivery.
That's right. So I have a question, and it's about with all the government cuts, not just money wise, but like with the FDA and things like that, how is that affecting local farms in terms of keeping our food and dairy and meats safe? Um, Aaron, you're first on. Oh, Todd, you're gonna have to wait a second.
So I do know the answer to this one.
Oh,
So
okay.
I actually was at a conference recently, and Massachusetts actually they announced that with everything going on with avian flu, that they are actually testing every animal that's in dairy production in the Commonwealth. At the time, every single one has still been testing clear. They're really the Department of Agriculture for Massachusetts is just it's a it's a really well machine. We have other states that actually look at what Massachusetts has for our own GAP program, and they're modeling what we do in Massachusetts, in New York, in Connecticut. It's phenomenal. I can't say enough about the Department of Agriculture. I really can't.
Aaron?
Yeah, I'll echo what Todd said. We're very lucky to be in Massachusetts. And I'll also say, pertaining very specifically to avian flu, we are probably we're being more cautious than maybe the you know than maybe we need to be. We'd rather be a little more cautious than not. And we're definitely paying attention to testing reports and what's coming out of everyone who's releasing information from APHIS and everyone. So I'd say that if anything, we're probably being more cautious than maybe we even were a year or two ago, because the information, we're not sure what information is going to get to us in a timely fashion.
Linda.
So I would say, I mean, we do have chickens here, so that avian that Todd and Aaron have touched upon is definitely something that is a hot topic. But there's a lot of different things that the Department of Ag and Massachusetts in general have done over the last 10 years to really make sure that products coming from local farms are being mandated for safety and making sure that everything is coming off of the farm in a clean and well, managed way. We have annual checks that happen when it comes to our washing and packing facilities, and we have training protocols that happen when somebody's hired and then retrained every 6 months, and we have certain things that are done here on that level. So there's definitely a lot that's done to make sure that that we have a good product and a highly nutritious product coming from the field, but then also going directly to the consumer too.
Mm-hmm. And Lily has a question that I also have about selling shares. Do your farms only sell shares because it makes it difficult for small families and singles? I mean, we had a share and we just shared it with another person, but then what do you do with like 2 potatoes, right? So, anyways, that's just me. Aaron, I think you all have smaller markets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have a farm stand that is open every day of the year, right on the farm. We also go to the Natick Farmers Market through like May through October. And we also do, through the town of Natick, we actually have a senior share that we started doing a few years back, which is a smaller share. It's sort of built for 1 or 2 people. And because we work with the town and they're able, I think they started getting a grant, but then now the town just pays for it's subsidized. So the customer only pays about half of what the share is worth. The town covers the other half, and it is built for 2 people. I would actually recommend, if you find a place that's near you that does shares, calling and asking about how big those shares are is worthwhile, because some of them build really small ones, or I actually had a CSA from Tangerini's a while ago, and there were like half shares available, and it really was like, you'd be surprised how much food you get in one, and what sizes are available to you. So it's worth checking out.
Absolutely. Linda, you also have I've been to all of these farms, so I know, like, I'm trying not to like tell everybody all of my stories about you. So Linda, tell us about your farm stand.
So we have a farm stand that's open 7 days a week, May 1st through Thanksgiving. During COVID, we did online orders through the winter as well, but this winter we kind of switched that up, and we were actually open every other Friday and Saturday for our farm stand through the winter. So we did stay open really minimally, but we still have a lot of produce through the winter, so we did do that as well. Um, and we do have several different sizes of our CSA shares, but we also, unfortunately, it's not applicable at this moment, but we have a market share program, which I really recommend for people who don't want to really commit to a CSA share of picking up every week or every other week. Our market shares, unfortunately, are only sold through the end of March, just to have it be like an incentive to buy it before the season really gets ramped up. But it's a card that you basically put increments of $100 on, and you can use it anywhere on the farm. You can use it in the ice cream shop, at the restaurant, to buy seedlings, to buy vegetables, literally anywhere. So for people who want to support a farm but don't want to commit to like a whole season's worth of produce, that's one really great way to do it. You get, depending upon how much you put on the card, you get 10 to 15% discount every time you use the card. So
you had me at ice cream. I'm done. I can leave now. Todd, can you start off with telling us what is a share? I completely forgot that some people might not know what that is.
Yeah, so the CSA is a community support agricultural share, and it's really based off of an investment into a farm operation in a season where we don't have a lot of income. So that's really kind of how it was originally started. Over the course of the years, it's changed. And like Linda said, one of the things that we do is a free choice card, and it's for the people that want that freedom to come into the farm stand and shop how they want. They may not like radishes, but they may want, more summer squash. And they can use that card from the start of our season on April 19th until Thanksgiving. And it's in different tiers, so people can invest in different amounts. And it's really for those people that just they see a need to support us in an earlier part of the year, and then they can shop how they want. We also do a farm to office program, because we also acknowledge there's a lot of people that work that can't get to a local farm stand or to a farmer's market. And for us, any Medway, any adjacent towns, we will actually do a CSA delivery to their offices. And usually what we do is we'll work with someone in HR or a point person that will then help kind of judge and figure out how many people are engaging on the idea. And it's a great way for us to, again, keep it really local and support local businesses at the same time. For us, our CSA is actually only one share size. So we kind of split it down the middle. We do one share. It's larger than a small, smaller than a large, because we got a lot of feedback in the past about people having stuff that would go to waste. And that's something we don't want.
Yep, that's true. The thing I loved about the Medway Community Farm is that they have a shack, and it was like, for the longest time it was on the honor system, so there'd be food in there and like a little thing to put money in, and I would just go there and get whatever I wanted. It was so awesome, and nobody there to see me taking lots of stuff. That was great. Now, one of the things that we have not really talked about yet is the flavor of the food, and I have to say that I think that, from my own perspective, and Sam, pipe in if you want, is that you will never get a better tasting strawberry than from a local farm. You'll never get a better tasting anything, because
Tomato. I always say tomato.
Tomato. I know. Yes. Oh, the raspberries. Oh my God. Especially when you pick them your own and anyways. So let's talk about that a little bit. Is obviously there's a health benefit, there's a community benefit, but what about the actual food? What makes it so much more tasty, Linda?
Uh, so I love this question. It makes me really happy. In my head, I was like, "Oh, pick me, pick me." So, I mean, first and foremost, you're going from literally like out of the ground or off of the plant into the farm stand and directly to the consumer. So you have such a minimal window of nutrient deterioration or anything really changing in that product. Um, but that being said, there are so many different flavor changes that you will notice year in and year out because it's so much depends on the nature and weather and everything. I mean, we talk about last year where we had a pretty regular intervals of little bits of rain, but then there was some hot times and some sun and I know for us anyway, it was like if I could order that year up again for me, that was awesome. We had minimal irrigation. We were our soils were pretty good. We didn't have too much rain. But if you have a really hot summer, your your melons are going to be more flavorful, your tomatoes are going to be more flavorful, everything's going to be more dense in that flavor because you're not getting as much of a water log and it's not soaking up as much of the rainwater and whatnot. You get a year like 2 years ago where it just didn't stop raining and everyone's like, why, things just aren't the same this year. And well, yeah, exactly, things aren't the same. It's because we're dealing with differences in Mother Nature and we can't turn off the water. So things are just naturally soaking up more water and losing a little bit of that flavor because of that. So hot peppers, if it's really hot out, they're going to be spicier because they're not soaking up that water and they're hitting more of that heat. So I can I tend to get a little excited about about all of that.
Well, I do too, because I do think there's a significant difference in the flavor. Aaron, would you say that that's true? I mean, because you do, I mean, you all do meats and cheeses and things like that too. So there's not just, it's not just the vegetables.
Yeah, I actually have like two stories I'd love to share very quickly about this. The first was a couple summers back, we did our summer, one of our summer camps. The kids were out picking green beans. And then at the end of the day, the mom, like parents were picking up the kiddos, and one of the kids ran up to mom and said, "Mom, I ate a green bean today, like off the plant." And mom was like dumbfounded, like she could not believe it. And she emailed our education director later on and said, "My kid hasn't eaten a vegetable that wasn't in like a pouch in like 2 years." My kid is very picky. He's a very picky eater. We've been working with a food therapist. Excuse me. This is the best like experience we've been able to give him, and it's because it was something that he got to like touch and experience and eat.
Mhm.
So that was like really meaningful, very special. To be able to eat something right off the vine it's truly a magical experience that I think sometimes we take for granted. One of the other things is being in contact with your farmers and being in a community around farmers and farming means that we get feedback from all of our customers on what they like, what they don't like, and what they do with the produce they get. I don't know if this is true for Medway and Tangerinis, but I had a lady a few years ago who wanted to buy every green tomato we had. And then she sent me the recipe for like her grandmother's or great grandmother's like green tomato relish, and then send us a jar of it. So it's not just about like what comes out fresh. It's like we also can probably give you some tips and tricks about like how best to prepare that food as well.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like preserve as well if needed. Todd, I'm gonna ask you to end out this question, and I'm gonna send it over to Sam for one last thought.
So I get asked this question a lot, like what is my favorite every year? And I think like Linda said, it depends on the season. Like there was a couple years that Valencia for a tomato, it's like a yellow tomato, absolutely loved it. It was like I would do anything to eat it over and over again. Um, and it was so great. But then like there was one year it was awful. I didn't like it. It had no flavor. And I noticed that with cherry tomatoes, everyone's like, oh, super sweet's the best cherry tomato. And I'm like, is it really? Is it? Because there's certain years that I have tomatoes that will definitely trump, super sweet all day long. So
Mhm.
I think it's really it's a every year you have to find, your favorite. It's always going to be different. But I think part of it is that it's local. It's super local. It's not traveling across the country or up the coast. And it's as fresh as it can truly be.
Thank you. And Sam, I'm going to end this with just a quick note to ask you, what is what is this in terms of sustainability for you in terms of in the community?
There's huge things that I think have been touched on. So, a big thing is I think you look at waste reduction. If you're going to a farmer's market, oftentimes things aren't wrapped in plastic. I feel like that's the biggest sustainability thing that you'll see. But talking about we don't grow pineapples in Massachusetts, they have to get shipped here. The shipping is a huge element of getting our food here. Um, Looking at water usage, I could not get into the sort of like soil disturbance that I know and sort of looking at the long term that some of these farmers might get into an eye roll if I try to talk about or go into details about. But there's huge terms of sustainability in shopping locally. It's wonderful.
Mhm.
I know I've been inspired that I need to go to more farmers markets after this.
Definitely. And I personally don't think that farms should be charged to table at these markets. But that's just me. Um, Okay, so I'm going to send out all of this information to everybody in just a little while, including the recording. Erin, Linda, Todd, thank you so much for doing this. I know this is your busy time, and I really appreciate you sharing all of your thoughts and expertise with us. Sam, my partner in crime, super fun working with you. And one of the questions that did come up in the chat that I know Erin responded to was, is it more expensive to buy locally? It is not. You actually sent, no, who sent some, was it you? Send somebody to Whole Foods and found it was the same price?
We just sent our intern like 2 weeks ago to Whole Foods to check just to compare a bunch of our produce, and we're right on track with them,
Yeah.
if not
Linda?
a little bit lower.
We do the same thing too.
Okay, so yeah, you have those secret shoppers. It's awesome. So go to go to your local farms, find out about their CSAs, and just enjoy. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and happy farming, everybody. I'm looking forward to this summer with you all. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much.
Yep. Good night, everybody.